I recently had the opportunity to visit Spain for the very first time. Nick was invited to go on a work trip and got to bring me along. This was my first trip to Spain, so I had no idea what to expect. We were primarily in Rioja and San Sebastian. So whether you're considering a trip to Spain or you would just like to follow us on our adventures, I invite you to join us for this vlog style video of my first trip to Spain. Ready? Let's go. After 15 hours of travel, we landed in Madrid and I was so excited. We just landed in Madrid. What are you most excited about to do in Spain?
Sleep.
Yeah, ask me.
Sierra, what are you most excited to do in Spain?
There's a sculpture in San Sebastian that they say when the wind whistles through it, it makes a song, and I cannot wait. For all kinds of slanted walkways, so I thought they would be perfect for parkour. Did that look cool?
No, that did not look cool.
Your finger is in front of the camera.
No, it's not. I could see it.
Parkour.
No parkour.
Look at this elevator. It's like curved. Like you could parkour on this. Parkour.
No.
I couldn't figure out why the escalators were all decorated for Christmas with green and red, and then it hit me. I just got it. The lights at the end of the escalators are going to tell you which one to get on and which one not to get on. Okay, that is brilliant. Nick finally got a chance to sleep on the bus ride from Madrid to our first stop, which was about 2 hours and midway to Logroño at Nico Hotel, which was a stop where you could get gas and spend the night and order actually a pretty substantial food, from fish and chips, which is what I had, to their specialty, which was the pork rind bites. You could buy candy and snacks and other items in the shop, but what was most surprising and grew to be very familiar was pig legs. Yeah, legs of pigs, ham legs hanging. They were everywhere. Back on the bus for the 2-hour ride to Logroño, and we passed by some windmills, sunflower fields, drove through some cute little towns that looked like they were on a movie set, drove by some mountains, and then off in the distance, every once in a while, you'd see these villages that were just surrounded by nothing. It was so interesting. We arrived at our hotel in Logroño, the Hotel Gran Via. Look at all the wine displays, so fancy. Above the toilet in the bathroom, there was a little present for me. It said, "For lady." I'm a lady, so I pulled it out. It was a sanitary disposal bag. Okay, that's not very exciting. I'll just stuff that back in. We decided to explore the streets of Logroño, which were really empty, so we were able to get on all of the park equipment. Well, I struggled a little bit with this one, but I kept at it and eventually got up. Okay, here we are in the town of Logroño, and it's very cute. It's very, to me, typically Spanish. Nice to see. They run the bulls here? They actually do that here?
Right through here.
Right through here? Look at this cute little walkway and cathedral. This is all so cute. There's a museum behind us. I guess this is considered the old town. It's a Tuesday afternoon and it's nice and quiet down here.
There's some cafes. It's a beautiful marble that's done in the same way.
It's so cute. The temperature's like perfect right now. Listen. As we're walking through the town of Logroño, I feel like it is so clean, but it's not clean, and I just realized what it is. It's not clean because there's cigarette butts, there's graffiti, there's litter. But it feels clean to me because there's nobody out because it's siesta time. So what'd you say? They're gonna come out later?
Like around 7 o'clock.
So then is it gonna feel dirty?
Nope, it's gonna feel lively.
We walked over this bridge, which overlooks the Parque del Ebro, which is a beautiful long-running park in which over 360 species of birds have been seen, including the cranes for whom this roost was built. It also overlooks the Rio Ebro, of course, the Ebro River. And hey, there's a cathedral in the distance. Let's go there next. But first, parkour! I'm not sure if this is the church that we saw in the distance, but we went inside anyway, and it was nice to sit down for a few minutes and have some peace and reflect. Okay, Nick, I have been looking at street signs up there that like that says Calle Marqués de San Nicolas. Oh, that's Nick. That's for you. What do those remind you of?
I don't know.
Reminds me of the streets in New Orleans. Hey Nick, have you ever seen a bike log like this?
Pretty in depth.
We had to cross the street to get a closer look because it looked like a bread bin, except instead of rolling up the top to get a piece of bread, you would get a bicycle. So it was really different. I started noticing these massive trash bins too everywhere we looked. They're just so large compared to what I'm used to. I guess the benefit is they don't fill up quite as quickly, so you don't have to empty them as often. We walked through the center of town to get back to our hotel, and it was such a cute little walkway and area with shops and a fountain and just a lovely afternoon. Then we walked to dinner through the streets that had been empty about 4 hours before. Now they were filled with laughter and music and a vibrancy and energy that felt completely different. Our host and Logroño native, Oscar, explained that these white asparagus and the other vegetables tasted so good because they were locally and freshly sourced and made with just the simplest and finest herbs and ingredients. Go, go, go.
Chug it.
Okay. Everyone drank a carajillo after dinner. I assumed because there was alcohol in it that you chugged it, but I guess it's more of a sipping drink. Oscar, what's your favorite thing about living in Spain?
I think the favorite thing about living in Spain is this beautiful quality of life that we have. And I invite everyone to come join me.
If you're enjoying this video, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It's free to you, and you would be helping me reach my goal of hitting 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I'm turning 50 this month, and I'm challenging myself to try new things. That means travel, tattoos, try-ons, all the T's. And if you'd like to follow along on my adventures, I invite you to subscribe. Here we are in the gym. How do you know the weights that you're lifting? Doesn't know. When I came to Europe in the summer, I was so confused about kilograms versus pounds, but I remembered this time and I calculated correctly. Our hotel had the most amazing breakfast spread. Everything from pastries and bread items to meats and fish and cheeses to jams and puddings and fruit, breads, and the famous tortilla de patata that we grew to love, and eggs, etc. Okay, we just went to breakfast and we were wearing our workout clothes. I don't think people do that here. We drove to Finca Carbonara in Burgasa, which is one of the vineyards for El Coto. First, we got to walk around the vineyards and taste some of the grapes and see some of the other things that were grown there, like almonds.
Yeah, you know, and you have it. Oh, yeah. And inside is the...
It's huge.
Yeah.
And then you crack
and you crack and the almond is there.
Wait, the almond's inside?
Yeah. But the thing is you need that.
You crack it, yeah.
It still is green, eh? You need a little bit more maturity and ripeness. But this is an almond.
Wait, so is an almond a seed?
Yeah.
I know we're here for the grapes and the wine and everything, but I think I maybe had a couple dozen of these blackberries. They were delicious.
Ooh, that's so good.
What is this? Blackberry? Don't mind if I have a couple more. Thank you very much, Blackberry Bush. Oscar took us to this view of the vineyards, which was really breathtaking. Even though it was a little bit overcast, it was still just gorgeous. Back at the plant, they were getting ready to unload a fresh harvest of grapes. Here come the grapes. They're backing up. I was warned that the grapes would make a big splash when they dropped, and you could potentially get stains on your clothing. Yeah, that was true. I noticed little clumps of bubbles coming up from the grapes and asked if they were starting to ferment. And yeah, actually, they started to self-ferment already. To stop the fermentation process, because it wasn't desired at that time, they added dry ice on top of all the grapes to pause the fermentation. I thought that was super cool to see. From there, the grapes go through the corkscrew grinder. That's the official term. And then they go through the stick spitter, where the other elements of the vine, like the sticks and the branches, are eliminated. And then the squished up grape juice travels through hoses in the ground over to these steel canisters, where really smart people wearing lab coats test them for different things. And look, we get to try some of it. Of course, that grape juice didn't have any alcohol in it, so it was time to taste the real thing. We went upstairs for some white wine tastings. This is what Nick does for work, and I'm sure it's hard, and I'm sure there are long days, but I can get used to this. Such a pretty view in the wine tasting room overlooking the Finca Carbonara vineyards. I understand this is a relatively new phenomenon for all of Europe, but the bottle caps don't come off. They stay attached, and I just find this fascinating. It's such an ingenious idea. Lavender blue, dilly dilly. Anyone else remember that song? It made me think of that when we were here. Okay, we're back on the bus and off to El Coto Winery. This winery was humongous. The production facility was so impressive. For time's sake and to not bore you, I'm not going to go through all the details of everything we saw and learned about on the tour of this really impressive facility. But as an outsider to the wine industry, I will share two things I learned that I thought were so fascinating. First of all, I never realized, but during the fermentation process, there is so much carbon dioxide that is produced that when the canisters are open to be cleaned, there is actual real danger of death by inhalation of carbon dioxide. And so there's a whole process and procedure for the workers to have open windows, to never be alone, which I found morbidly very interesting. Fact number two that fascinated me was that inside these wine production facilities, they have these drainage systems all throughout where you can pretty much just spit and pour wine in the middle of the floor. That blew my mind. And of course, I started thinking, what if we could have that in our houses or like our bathrooms? I mean, how nice would it be just to, brush your teeth and spit in the middle of the bathroom floor? All that wine tasting built up our appetite, so we were treated to a delicious lunch at El Coto, and then we were back on the bus and back to Logroño. There's that balancing skateboard thing I tried yesterday. Look at the streets in early evening as compared to mid-afternoon yesterday when they were just desolate. There was nobody out, and this was early evening, so the streets were just starting to come alive, but the contrast between afternoon and evening and night was just astonishing to me. Quick stop in the candy store to pick up candy for my daughter to try. She always does Candy Fridays and tries different candy varieties. This is the street we're going to come down later where they have the tradition of tapas, which are little bites and a drink. And I guess you go into every place and they have these little bars or little tables outside. You can just go in and get a bite. Maybe you're there for 10-15 minutes, then you go to the next place. Kind of like a progressive dinner, right, Nick?
Oh yeah. What she said.
Picking out your tapas and pinchos.
The cobra
Pinchos. Cobra meat. Actual cobra? Like a snake? 2 hours later, at around 8 o'clock, the streets were starting to get really busy. And you can see they're not that wide, maybe 10 feet across. And it seems like everybody came out. Oscar, our guide, kept running into people that he knew. Our first dish was this stacked mushroom with shrimp on top, and Oscar had to show us how to eat it.
Is you push this down and then you the other is can be
that's the way. That's the way.
like this. Okay. So you can do this or you do
Push down.
push down. Me, I do prefer this, and I recommend you always do like this because it's very usual. You get that.
We were very grateful for the advice to lean over while you're eating the pinchos or tapas because they're all pretty juicy or oily. The streets were really starting to come alive as we headed to Juan y Pinchame for these amazing shrimp and pineapple skewers. We noticed that most of the tapas seemed to come on top of or next to some kind of bread. It would not be a true Spanish tapas night without patatas bravas. These boiled potatoes are then covered in cream and then in olive oil and paprika sauce and were delicious. I will not, however, be trying the lamb brains. No, thank you. I will pass on those. It was really amazing to me how much the streets filled at night compared to how empty they were just a few hours before. I'm definitely going to make this at home. This is sorbet blended with cava, which is the Spanish sparkling wine. So good. I just love this idea of tapas.
Tapas crawl.
Not only is there so much variety of food and drink, but who you're standing next to and what you're looking at is always changing. And so the night is just so lively and fun. We stopped for a drink at this cafe bar called La Luna. And what's so fascinating to me about the bar service outside is that they actually mix the drinks in front of you. And so not only is this a lot of talent, but it's a lot of transparency too. They bring out the bottles and they actually do the basic mixing while balancing all of the glassware and all of the ingredients. We were up and out to the gym by 7 o'clock, but look how dark it still is at 7 o'clock.
Too early for video.
A quick observation is that all the banks offer specialty coffees, so you could go into a bank and get like an espresso or something. We found that fascinating. And then we were off to Barone de Ley Winery, which was actually built in a monastery. We'll see a little bit of that in a minute. I love watching the bottling and packaging process. I could actually sit and watch this all day, so I'll show you a little clip of it. But quick question for all of you, especially my regular viewers. I'd love to get your opinion. And if you're new here, welcome. I would love to hear your opinion too, but especially the people that watch my videos on an ongoing basis. Do you like wine? And would you be interested in videos about wine? Nick is obviously in the wine industry and has a lot of knowledge and access to wine, and I am learning about it, and it's very interesting to me. And I'd love to do some videos about it, but I'm curious, is that an interest of yours? Would you like those kinds of videos? Maybe doing some tastings or that kind of thing? Let me know in the comments below if you'd love to see me explore and share about wine.
Certified. This is what we do. 9 a.m. start drinking wine.
It's 3:03, it's I think 10:30, and we are drinking wine again.
That's what we do.
Okay, I have to rally for this.
A rally.
We were in a super cool room overlooking all those thousands of barrels for the tasting, but it was 10:30 in the morning and we had just spent the whole day before drinking and tasting wines, and now we had to do some more. I guess maybe Nick does have to work after all. And actually, we all had spit buckets, so it was time I learned to take advantage of the spit bucket. So we managed to get through all those different wine varieties, and then we were back out to tour the facility a little bit more. Okay, this is going to be 6 million bottles. How many bottles? 6 million.
$6 million bottles.
The sheer volume that this facility produces and stores is just impressive. We're going to the monastery. We're playing Gregorian chant music. The monastery dates back to the 16th century, where 500 years ago, the monks that lived here would produce wine and they would then sell it to create income for the monastery. And it was purchased by Barone de Ley in 1985. And not only is this bell a symbol of the monastery, but it's also the logo on the wine bottles. So of course we all had to take turns ringing it because, you know, when in Barone de Ley, ring the bell. You have a giant bug on your back. Hang on.
It's too long.
I did it.
There you go.
What do you think it was in the times of the monks?
Those gated archways were used by the monks for animals. So they were stalls for the barnyard animals, and that's where they stayed when they came inside. And it was really interesting to see the interior and where the monks would have done the wine production, which of course would have been all barrels at that time. They didn't have steel canisters. And then the interior courtyard of the monastery that Nick and I agreed reminded us of a California fort interior. It was neat to see the areas that they had converted to be a dining area and then the living quarters that they tried to keep in the style of the time period. We thought this gentleman on the wall reminded us of Hugh Jackman. What do you think? And then it was time to eat and drink again. Okay, but I was quickly falling in love with this dish called tortilla de patata. It's an egg dish with potatoes, and I am definitely going to make this when we get home. It was so good. There's those white asparagus again. We're eating again.
We're eating again. 2 hours later.
More importantly, we're drinking again. I did fall in love with the Spanish sparkling, which is called cava, so that was a good find. A quick walk through the courtyard, and then we were back on the bus to San Sebastian. Well, unfortunately, I have to end here because this video is just getting way too long. So this is going to be a 2-part series, and I'll hit San Sebastian next week. When that video is ready, I will post it right here so you can keep watching, and I'll see you in the next one.